Most parents think the smartest children are simply born that way, that some children naturally learn faster, solve problems more easily, and stay confident even when things get difficult. But what if intelligence isn't where the story begins? What if one small parenting habit, practiced for just a few minutes after everyday mistakes, could slowly shape the way your child's brain learns to think? It's a habit that many Japanese families have practiced for generations. And surprisingly, it doesn't involve flashcards, extra homework, or pushing children to be perfect. In fact, it begins with failure. Think about the last time your child struggled. Maybe they knocked over a glass of water, forgot their school bag, lost a game, couldn't finish a puzzle, or became frustrated trying to tie their shoes. What happened next? If you're like most parents, you probably rushed in. It's okay, don't worry. Here, let me help. It feels loving. It feels supportive. But sometimes, our kindness accidentally steals the most important part of learning. Because the moment we erase the struggle, we also erase the opportunity for our child to understand it. And that's where one Japanese parenting practice offers a different perspective. It's called Hansei. Hansei is often translated as self-reflection, but it's much more than simply thinking about what happened. It's asking, what can I learn from this? Instead of treating mistakes as something to hide, children are taught to examine them, not to feel guilty, not to criticize themselves, but to understand. Because in this mindset, mistakes aren't evidence of failure. They're information. Every mistake teaches your child something, if they're given the chance to notice it. And that's a lesson many children never get. Here's something fascinating about a child's brain. It grows strongest, not when everything goes right, but when it has to work through something difficult. Every time your child notices an error, tries a different strategy, and eventually succeeds, their brain strengthens the connections involved in planning, attention, memory, and problem solving. That's why psychologists often say learning happens during correction, not perfection. The struggle itself isn't slowing your child's learning, it's creating it. Imagine your 5-year-old is building a tower. It falls. Again. And again. After the 4th attempt, they look frustrated. Immediately, you reach over, move one block, straighten another, and suddenly, the tower stands. Problem solved. Except, it wasn't your child's solution. Your child learned something, just not what you hoped. They learned, when things become difficult, someone else finishes it. Over time, that message quietly becomes a habit. Instead of experimenting, they begin waiting. Instead of thinking, they begin asking. Not because they aren't capable, but because that's the pattern they've experienced. Japanese parents often do something surprisingly simple. They pause. Not forever, not while their child becomes overwhelmed, just long enough to give their brain a chance to work. Sometimes, that's all they need. Children often solve problems seconds before adults would have stepped in. And when they do, the confidence feels completely different. Because it wasn't borrowed confidence, it was earned confidence. That's the kind that lasts. Of course, sometimes they genuinely need help. The goal isn't to leave children struggling endlessly. The goal is to help without taking over. Instead of giving the answer, become curious. What part feels tricky? What have you already tried? What do you think might work? Questions like these do something remarkable. They move your child from frustration back into thinking. And thinking is exactly where learning begins again. If your child is a toddler, reflection won't sound like a conversation. It will sound like guidance. Let's look together. Which shoe goes first? What happens if we turn it around? You're lending your thinking until their brain is ready to do it independently. As children grow older, your role slowly changes. Instead of explaining, you begin asking. Instead of directing, you begin listening. Little by little, they become the person solving their own problems. There is one word that quietly changes how children think about challenges. Yet. I can't read this becomes, I can't read this yet. I can't ride my bike becomes, I can't ride my bike yet. That single word reminds children that learning has a future. Their current ability isn't permanent. It's simply today's version. And today's version doesn't have to be tomorrow's. When your child finally succeeds, be careful what you celebrate. Instead of saying, "You're so smart," try saying, "You kept trying. You noticed what wasn't working. You found another way." Because children naturally repeat whatever adults notice. If we only notice intelligence, they begin protecting it. If we notice effort, they begin trusting effort. And over time, that mindset becomes far more valuable than any label. But there is one part of this entire process that has nothing to do with your child. It has everything to do with you. Because children don't just learn from what we teach, they learn from what we model. When you burn dinner, miss an appointment, forget your keys, or make a mistake at work, they're watching. Not to see whether you're perfect, they're watching to learn what people do after mistakes. If they hear, "I'm so stupid," they learn that mistakes deserve shame. But if they hear, "I forgot this today. Next time I'll write it down," they learn something completely different. Mistakes become normal. Problems become solvable. Reflection becomes automatic. Without realizing it, you're teaching Hansei. The truth is, reflection works best when children feel emotionally safe. But during tantrums, that part of the brain temporarily goes offline, which is why many parents accidentally try teaching lessons at exactly the wrong moment. In the next video, I'll show you what your child's brain is actually doing during a meltdown, and the simple response that helps them calm down faster while strengthening